from beautiful Florida. And today our question comes to us from Reverend Onyx. And Reverend Onyx asked how one would reconcile the Wiccan Rede and harm none do as you will with the idea of military service. And my answer to this is that as a Corellian, I don't really understand why this would even be a question. This is not the kind of thing the Wiccan Rede is meant to address. From the Corellian point of view, the Wiccan Rede, which is, again, and harm none do as you will, must be interpreted according to the normal meaning of the term harm. And military service traditionally would not come under that meaning. Neither would law enforcement, neither would the idea of law itself. However, I am aware that some Wiccans interpret the Wiccan Rede in a very broad sense and will object to all of these things, which I think is just silly. And it moves the Wiccan Rede to a place that it is no longer a livable statement. I've also seen people take the Wiccan Rede and try to apply it to things like breathing in microbes or other things that we cannot avoid in living. The Wiccan Rede is a prescription for behavior, which is basically the same one that your mother either did or should have given you before you went off to school. And it basically is, do what you want, but don't hurt anybody. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have laws, it doesn't mean we don't have police, and it doesn't mean we don't have military. None of these things traditionally come under the heading of harm. And it doesn't mean that you can't accidentally hurt somebody's feelings. Sometimes that's unavoidable. Sometimes it's even unavoidable to intentionally hurt their feelings if you know that they're going to react unreasonably to something that must be done. For example, there are a lot of people who are very hurt that there would be anyone who isn't a conservative Christian living on the planet, but we have to hurt their feelings or give up what matters to us. And in those circumstances, there is no choice. And the Wiccan Rede was not meant to negate people as individuals, it was meant to make for a better world. And so coming back to the military, yes, there are certain things that could come into play with the military that would come under the traditional meaning of harm, such as what might be considered an unjust war, but just the existence of a military or being in a military is not what is considered to be harm in the ordinary meaning of that word, and therefore not in the Wiccan Rede either. In the Corellian tradition, we have many military members from around the world belonging to many different militaries. And we really do not see this as being in any way inconsonant with their role as priesthood. And if you look at priesthood in most of the pagan world, in antiquity and in also some modern parts of the pagan world, you'll notice that priesthood did not necessarily prevent you from having a military career. That is not necessarily one of our points of view historically. And in Egypt or in even in Japan, where you have Buddhism, you'll see Buddhist monks who are also warriors. You'll see Shinto priests who could also on occasion be warriors. In Greece and Rome, certainly priesthood did not prevent people from following a perfectly ordinary civil life. So when we talk about the Wiccan Rede, things like military service are not what is meant by harm. And we were talking in my Chancellor's chat room the other night, which is actually where this question comes from, about what is harm. And a phrase I often use to sum it up is egregious or unprovoked damage. If somebody comes up and attacks you, of course you must fight back. That is not harm. No one ever thought it was. In fact, if you don't fight back, you're allowing harm to yourself, and possibly also to your family or others who depend upon you. And so in some situations, it is necessary to take actions that will protect yourself. So in looking at the Wiccan Rede, we are not really talking about things that don't come under the ordinary vernacular sense of the term harm. And when you look at the Wiccan Rede that way, it's relatively easy to live by. It certainly does not negate one's personal existence. When you take it and conflate it with very expansive ideas of what the word harm might mean, well, then often you come to the point that it's completely impossible to follow. I had one person once tell me that to hurt a person's feelings in any way or violate their free will in any way was breaking the Wiccan Rede, and that's absolutely not the case. Sometimes you have to hurt a person's feelings because it's unavoidable. And I mentioned earlier the example of those conservative Christians whose feelings are very hurt if you don't convert to their religion. But that doesn't mean you need to convert to their religion. And on the subject of free will, if someone's free will is rape and murder, yes, you do interfere with their free will. Those things are not appropriate. And calling it free will does not change that. So, In looking at the Wiccan Rede, we must look at it in a practical, sensible manner, and that practical, sensible manner does not in any way conflict with military service under ordinary circumstances. I won't say there's never an occasion when it might, but not under ordinary circumstances. So those would be my thoughts on the matter. I hope you find them interesting, and until next time, may you blessed be. Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from witchschool.com. Are you looking for the best in pagan and magical education? With more than 12,000 pages, witchschool.com is like having your own personal library with individual learning assistants to help you study. And Witchschool's Anyone, Anytime, Anywhere education system is available any place on Earth, anywhere you are and anytime you want it, as long as you have an internet connection. Witchschool's lifetime memberships are a great value. They really do last a lifetime. They've been there for years and they'll be there for years to come. So get your membership today at witchschool.com.